All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving our praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Qudash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today is Monday, July 14th, 2025, Missile Monday, and I have this article from United 24 Media, and it says, Russia warns of nuclear ultimatum over U.S. plans to send long-range missiles to Ukraine. So I'm just going to read this article and bring out a few scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And it says, Kremlin-aligned media figure Margarita Simonyan or Simeon Slakia. Simonyan, however this individual's last name is pronounced, has warned that the U.S. plans to supply Ukraine with long-range missiles could force Russia to issue a nuclear ultimatum, declaring that no other outcome is possible under current conditions. The chief editor of the Russian propagandist media agency RT stated on July 14th, which is today. Simonian or Simonian responded to reports that the U.S. President Donald Trump may soon approve the transfer of missiles capable of striking deep into Russian territory. This will all end with a nuclear ultimatum, because under the current parameters, it cannot end any other way. Simonian said, or Simonian wrote, it's not that we want this, is that we're left with no choice. And indeed, there is no other choice, because again, this coming Third World War, that's going to be the only outcome for war to happen, and it's primarily going to be between the United States and Russia, so this is all biblical prophecy taking place. So Simonian's remarks were reposted by the prominent Russian state TV host Vladimir Solovyov and amplified by other ultra-loyalist outlets and war bloggers, signaling coordinated rhetorical escalation from Moscow's propaganda apparatus. Referencing the recent Israel-Iran escalation, Simonian added, the world's threshold for sensitivity is now higher than ever. Nothing happened when people saw footage of Tel Aviv burning from bombs, and nothing will happen when it's Moscow, or so they think. The warning comes amid reports from Axios that President Trump intends to unveil a new military aid package for Ukraine on Monday, potentially including long-range offensive weapons funded by European allies. Two sources told Axios the system in question could have the range to strike Moscow. In parallel coverage, pro-government newspaper Moskovsky Komsomolets wrote that strikes on a nuclear power's capital have long been considered a potential trigger for the retaliatory use of tactical nuclear weapons. A popular Russian pro-war Telegram channel, Zapisky Veterana, with over 300,000 subscribers, claim NATO-supplied ballistic missiles could hit Russian cities as early as August or September. The most adequate response to NATO's delivery of long-range missiles to Ukraine will be strikes on the industrial capacities of the producing countries, the Post reads. Previously, Trump said he would send Ukraine Patriot missile systems and other advanced weapons paid for by European countries. Putin talks nice, then bombs everyone at night. Trump told reporters, "We don't like that." I'm very disappointed with Putin. I thought he was somebody who meant what he said, and he'll talk so beautifully, and then he'll bomb people at night. We don't like that, Trump added. But isn't that what the small hats are doing? Now, they aren't talking, but again, they're over there bombing the Ishmaelites to hell and back over there in Gaza, but there's no uproar of that. But you're saying, we don't like that when, again, this is something that the small has been doing, when in reality, Russia just retaliated against, the Ukraine for bombing them. I forget which country sent the missile, first, non-nuclear, first. Pretty sure it may have been Ukraine. They may have launched a missile over in Russia first, and then they retaliated. I still have the video where Russia retaliated with a missile and left a huge crater in the ground, man. From my escalation, just from reading and following this war with Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine should just wave the white flag and let, Russia take over that land, because in reality, Ukraine is a part of Russia. What I mean is, obviously, it's a part of the landscape, it's a part of the actual land, Russia, but Ukraine was also a part of the USSR, and then it broke away after the Soviet Union fell, But again, Putin is trying to reclaim, Ukraine. But clearly, we're seeing that, World War III is just heating up more and more, because we know that this war will not come into full fruition until the mark of the beast is made mandatory, So I'm going to finish out. It says, Axios reported that a pivotal movement came during a July 3rd call between Trump and Putin, during which the Russian president reportedly signaled plans to escalate the war and attempt to seize more Ukrainian territory over the next 60 days. Earlier, Senator Lindsey Graham predicted the U.S. military aid to Ukraine will soon reach record levels following a major announcement from President Donald Trump. So, again, man, as you can clearly see, things, or tensions are heating up more and more between the United States and Russia, excuse me, Slovakia, because that's primarily who this Third World War is going to be between, Russia and America. Just like it says in the scriptures, just roughly paraphrasing, that the least of the flock shall draw them out. Talking about the small hats, over there, because again, they're going to do something that is going to cause, America to step in either on their behalf, and then, whichever, country, 9 times out of 10 is going to be one of the Arab countries. Russia's going to step in on their behalf, because again, those different Arab nations, Elam nations is even certain of those so-called African nations, Russia's going to be a guard unto them, so they're allies. So we just have to wait and see exactly how this thing plays out, So I'm going to start with the book of Isaiah, chapter 9 and verse 5. It says, "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." Right. This current world war, or this coming third war, is going to be fought with burning and fuel of fire, which is what these nuclear missiles that are on the earth today, that are being, created and produced in these various countries, because again, you have 9 nuclear armed nations, which I'll grab there real quick, right? So real quick, it says, currently 9 countries are known to possess nuclear weapons: Russia, the United States, China, France, the UK, Pakistan, India, Israel, and North Korea. These are the countries. Well, France, they have them too. But these are the main nations that possess nuclear missiles. So this is what this is how this coming Third World War is going to be fought. With those nuclear missiles. And I always have to make mention that you will have ground troops that are going to be going to war with each other. Over there in the east, the region of Saudi Arabia. But this war is primarily going to be fought with these missiles. Because ancient warfare was fought with hand-to-hand combat. Guerrilla warfare, men having swords, shields, spears, these different weapons of war, bow and arrows, fighting each other on the battlefield, But this war is going to be, more advanced. Again, missiles are going to be launched from one end of the earth to the other, Slakia. So staying in Isaiah, I'm going to jump to chapter 54 and verse 16. It says, Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy and right man. The modern day smith will be the scientists and physicists that are behind creating and developing these nuclear weapons, man. Because what does a blacksmith do? They create weapons of war. And what are these scientists and physicists doing? They're creating weapons of war, and not just any weapons of mass destruction, because these missiles that are on the earth have the capability to literally destroy the entire earth. But as it says in the scriptures, the earth abideth forever, so the entire earth won't be destroyed, but only certain places. We know for sure, as is prophesied in the scriptures, that America, aka Babylon the Great, is going to be completely destroyed and left desolate. The land of Israel, will be destroyed, but it's going to be built back up. And then just from my personal belief, I believe other nations are going to get hit, but they'll be built back up as well, And again, like it's this, man, this is real, man. And people think that this, you people just don't have a clue, man. You people just don't have a clue of what's to come, because again, this war is heating up more and more. As we know that, again, man, this war won't come into full fruition until the mark of the beast, the prophecy of the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip, is made mandatory, So just real quick, I'm going to get the book of Revelation chapter 13 and verse 2. And it says, And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, which the leopard represents, the Greeks, and then the main point that I want to get, it says, and his feet were in his feet were as the feet of a bear. And this is the point I want to get, the feet of a bear, the bear represents Russia, because what is Russia's, symbol, if you will, the bear. So Russia is going to be the end of Babylon, So finishing this verse, and it says, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, talking about Britain, Great Britain, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And right, man, the dragon being ancient Rome, because again, America got its power and influence from ancient Rome, But again, the main point that I wanted to get in this verse was that, the feet of the bear, because what is the feet? It's the end, of a man, in this case, it's talking about the beast, but it's the end of it, and Russia is going to be the end of Babylon. Russia, on a small scale, is going to destroy Babylon. But as we know, on a much grander scale, our Lord Yahweh Shai, along with the angels, are going to destroy this place, So I'll get Malachi chapter 4 and verse 1. It says, For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up Saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. And right, man, that day that's coming, the day of the Lord, aka World War III, that day is coming. We don't know exactly when, but we know that day is coming soon, man. We can feel it because things are heating up in the earth, man. These various things that are happening, floods happening, earthquakes happening, people being unalived, these various things that the Lord told us about, to look for upon his second coming. We're seeing these things take place. Things are getting more and more serious by the day. So I'm going to get the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, and verse 4. It says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. So right, man, it's talking about, the missiles, because again, there's going to be, millions of them, that are going to be shot, from one end of the earth to the other. They're going to come from the east and land over here in the west, because America is their primary target, and as it says, to destroy the whole land, because again, the entire land mass of America is going to be destroyed. Everything we see now won't be here once these nukes get launched and they hit this place, man. It's over with. This place is destined for destruction, and that's going to be the end of this place. So I'm going to grab a couple more and that'll be it. So I'm going to get the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verse 1. It says, after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And right, these are 4 literal angels holding back the 4 winds, which the 4 winds represent the destruction, World War III. Because again, there is an appointed time when this war is going to take place, Verse 2, it says, and I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. So right, man, once, the mark of the beast is made mandatory, and once the elect are completely sealed, then this destruction is going to take place, So real quick, I'm going to get the book of Revelation, chapter 11, and verse 14. It says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And we're seeing that, man. World War I, came to pass. World War II, came to pass, which is that second woe. And it says the third woe cometh quickly. We're seeing that, man. World War III is coming very quickly. It's on the way. But again, we still have that major prophecy to look out for, So I'm going to end it with this. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 9, and verse 15. It says, the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the third part of men. And right, there's going to be a particular hour, day, month, and year when the Lord is going to loose these angels, to loose that destruction upon the earth, man, to carry out World War III, bring about the destruction of Babylon, and it says for to slay the third part of men, because you have 3 classes of men on the earth. You have the sons of God, which are the biblical Israelites, the tribe of Judah, all the way down to Issachar, all 12 tribes. You have the sons of men, which are, the heathen nations, and you have the sons of the wicked, which are the nation of Edom, the so-called white man, and that's who this destruction is for. Edom, primarily, 2/3 of the nation of Israel are going to get cut up in this destruction, for their wickedness. And then, as always, as I mentioned, you heathens, they get caught up in that destruction, you're just collateral damage, If you're over here and you weren't able to return, to your homeland before this destruction takes place, then you were just over here to make your little money and die, And that's going to be the end of this place. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the artists of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say Shalom.